Hey, welcome back to the channel, folks. This is Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot, and we're doing something a little different today. I don't got a bot, and I'm not even doing a toy review, though I have a couple of Batman figures here. I really wanted them to have something on screen. We're going to talk about the new Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice film. I went last night to an early showing of that movie, and I'm going to try and discuss it. Spoiler free here. I'll do another one with spoilers, so you can take your pick as to which one you want to watch. This one will be the spoiler free one. So let's get into the GotBot True Movie Review numero 1. Okay, so this is Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot, and I'm going to ask you to check me out on social media, and I'm going to ask you to check out Machinery of Man and the Everything Factor. And yeah, we're not doing figure review here. I will say this is a weird orange or yellow and green scuba Batman. I don't know. It's weird. Its posability is highly limited. His arms go forward, but they don't go out. His head can't turn. No knees. And this other here has elbows, and that's about all he has extra. So I wish I actually had a Superman figure to have here as well. It would have been nice to have them both on screen. Neither of these are mine. I got them from Starscream Girlfriend's Scraplets, and anybody who's a Transformers fan is going to understand that reference. Okay, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. What can I say about this without ruining things? It's long. That's the first thing. It's long. It is billed at 2.5 hours. It is every bit 2.5 hours, if not a little bit more. There is an awful lot of story in it. They try to cover a lot of territory. Going back to my days as an avid comic book fan, I had certain expectations for how the story was going to go, how the characterization was going to go, and all I can really say is they really mash 2 to 3 ideas together that each could have been developed into a movie and put them all into one movie. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Truth is, I think it worked pretty good here because it's good storytelling. It's just there are times in the movie where I felt like they could have ended it here and even divided this up into 2. But I think that honestly, I feel like the DC universe is trying to catch up to the Marvel universe and trying to do it quickly. Consider the name, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Right away, that tells you, or at least it told me, that okay, this is going to be a lead up to Justice League. That's the idea. That's the idea behind it, I think. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that. The name is kind of a dead giveaway. If you were wondering, is this movie connected to Man of Steel? Is it connected to the Batman trilogy? Here's what I would say. I feel like it doesn't negate the Batman trilogy with Christian Bale cast as Batman. It doesn't really link to it, but it doesn't really link to it other than to say that the Bat is already established as a hero and a character in Gotham, really. As far as the connection to Man of Steel goes, there are certain linkages. There's no doubt about it. I would even advise maybe before you go this evening or the weekend and see Batman vs. Superman, hey, give Man of Steel a rewatch. Why not? I mean, it's a nice lead up. In the end, I wouldn't really call this, a Superman movie. It definitely has aspects of both of them. There's a lot of Bruce Wayne story. There's a nice bit of Clark Kent story, but I feel like they focus more on reestablishing Bruce Wayne because Clark Kent was already sort of established in Man of Steel. I feel like they try to delve into the characters and their motivations without really having the available time to do so completely. learning, what haunts them and what pushes them. I also felt like we were a long, long time into the movie before we actually saw Bruce as Batman, before we actually saw, Clark as Superman. It was one of those where I wanted to see the hero side of the characters sooner than I did. Overall, I think the casting was great. I was pleasantly surprised with Ben Affleck as Batman. It helped, I think, that they gave the Bat a voice synthesizer type of thing that really gave him more of that gruff Batman voice. I think the casting for Superman, same thought that I had in Man of Steel. It's okay. Yeah, he looks Supermanish, but I don't know. I've always been okay with it, but I'm not over the top struck with the casting of Superman. It never was. Wonder Woman's casting, I think, is fantastic. Great job there. Lex, I like I like the actor who plays Lex, and he certainly brought an excitement to the role. I'll say that. Characterization. I had a certain view of Superman, and this pretty much stuck to it. A certain view of Wonder Woman, same thing. This pretty much stuck to it. That brings us to Lex and Batman. Batman. The characterization almost seemed more crusty and cynical and gruff and bitter than I would have necessarily liked. And the casting for Alfred was great, but I didn't get the sense that Alfred was old enough that he could have been, the guardian for a childhood Bruce Wayne. It didn't seem like there was enough of a difference between Bruce's age and Alfred's age to me. And maybe that's just me. And Lex. It's an interesting portrayal of Lex. Actually, it's supposed to be Lex Jr., even though I don't know if it's actually ever said. I believe at one point he's actually called Alexander Luthor. It's... pardon me. It's an interesting portrayal of the character, not the way I would picture the character. That's what I would say to you. Not the way I would picture the character. The action is a long time coming, but once it actually comes, it's excellent sequences. They are choreographed fantastic. It's a fun ride with big explosions and a lot of action. Just not quite the action that I expected it to be. On the good side, you had a great story that was really organized in such a way that a lot of different elements come together and for the most part make a pretty good sense. A couple of times it gets a little bit murky with certain character motivations, and I don't want to say more here because, like I said, this is spoiler free. And there's a couple of cheesy parts, only one or two that they're okay, but like, oh come on, that was a little too convenient. And there are these dream sequences that I think the entire movie could have done without. I don't see the point of putting them in there. They just seem cumbersome and plotting and like a waste of screen time to me. The bad. I don't really think there was too much that was bad. Other than probably the couple of times when it seemed like the movie could have been over and it went on. And the ugly, again, I don't think there's necessarily anything ugly. Unless you are really put out by certain characterizations not being exactly what you expect them to be. Is there anything that stands out that's stellar? No, that's the other thing. I feel like this is a movie that's good, but it's an obvious setup for something else. And we've all watched movies like that where you watch and you get to the end of it and you feel like, I have certain questions or certain loose end threads are left, and it feels like there has to be more to this story. They couldn't fit it in here, but there has to be more to this story. That's what I felt like coming out of this movie, that it's almost inevitable that there has to be more to this. And I guess that might not necessarily be a bad thing, because I see this as really the start of setting up the DC multiverse, and we'll see how it plays out. Either it will go really well with subsequent films, or it will fall on its face. As far as the start of setting up this universe goes, really, what would I give this movie? Out of 10? I'm gonna give it a 7. It was fun to see. I'm glad I saw it. Starscream girlfriend and I, both went to it. She didn't enjoy it quite as much as I did. She's not quite as invested in the characters as I am, and she has some choice thoughts about the Bat of Gotham. But for me, it was a fun ride. I'm glad I went and saw it. I certainly don't regret it. Should you go see it? If you're a big fan of the DC universe, then yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it, even though the characters are a little bit different from what you expect. Is it going to be an over the top, your favorite movie? Probably not. Oh, and finally, I will say this. I had been really skeptical, based on seeing the action figures, I've been really skeptical on what I was going to think of Batman's suit. To my surprise, I loved it. I thought it translated excellent on film. There was no doubt in my mind that, yeah, that's the Batman. I think it comes across on film so much better than it comes across in the action figures that are out. Anyway, that's the spoiler-free review. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Interesting characterizations, great storytelling. Excellent fight scenes when they happen. It just takes a long time for them to happen. Overall, it's a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Hopefully, you will enjoy it. Like I said, you might want to start out with Man of Steel first and then go and see this movie just to kind of refresh yourself. And, in the comment section below, why not let me know what you thought of it? If you liked it, if you hated it, if you were indifferent to it. Anyway, that is the spoiler-free version done. Until the next movie review, folks, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.